Hey everybody, well, with the TikTok ban looming large, we only have 8 days till the ban goes into effect. Does anybody out there actually believe that the government wants this app banned for national security reasons? I'm finding that very difficult to believe, especially when we already have all of these other apps. Facebook, Instagram, part of Meta, X, formerly known as Twitter, all collecting our information. Who knows what they're collecting? Who knows who they're giving it to? We already had an instance where Meta got in trouble for giving our data to Cambridge Analytica. So nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes in any of these apps. And we have a bunch of politicians who already use the TikTok app. So I find it very hard to believe that the idea behind banning this app is for national security reasons. To me, what is more likely and what's going on is that the government is concerned that they can no longer control the narrative the way that they have been. They're realizing that when Americans have free-flowing access to information and to stories, they start being held accountable. The American people begin to hold their feet to the fire, and they can't be having that. They can't be having the average citizen have access to that information, or having the average American citizen hold them accountable for things that they said, things that they've done, and for things that they voted on. And what's even crazier now is we have the Republicans in the Trump administration planning on cutting $5.7 trillion out of social programs, from Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, and we have Social Security benefits that are all on the chopping block. And if they go through with all these cuts, and they're cutting welfare, food stamps, programs that actually help Americans who are struggling, if they go through with cutting all of these things, they definitely do not want the American people, the population, to be speaking to each other, sharing their stories on an app like TikTok, so that that information is being shared, and they're trying to contain the outrage. It's really difficult at the moment to get a read on what the Supreme Court is going to do. I've seen lots of opinions out there. And we also have Donald Trump, who says he doesn't want the app banned. So maybe the Supreme Court will hold off on this decision, put a stay on it, and so that it doesn't get banned on the 19th. And even if they do ban it, there's also the possibility that Donald Trump can come in on the 20th after he's sworn in and just decide that we're not going to enforce that law or enforce that ban. So there's two ways that the app can be saved there. Well, I guess three if they decide that they don't want to ban it, but it's hard for me to think that they would pass a law, Biden would sign this ban into effect, and then the Supreme Court go against it, but you never know. But really, the argument that it's a national security risk, I think is kind of bogus. I think we all recognize that it's a bullshit argument, and we know it's not true. It has nothing to do with national security and everything to do with controlling the narrative, controlling what the American population is allowed to see, what they are allowed to hear, and ultimately what we are allowed to say. And Mark Zuckerberg over there at Meta, who now is basically getting rid of all of his fact checkers and is allowing speech on his platform that's more in line with hate speech and more in line with what's happening over at X. Zuckerberg himself has lobbied Congress the most and spent the most amount of money trying to get the TikTok app banned. And he stands to benefit, well, at least in his mind, he stands to benefit from TikTok being banned. He thinks that all of these people are going to come rushing back to Facebook, and they're going to come rushing back to Instagram, and he's going to have all of these users again. But if you've been on the TikTok app and you've listened to what a lot of people are saying, I think the reverse is going to happen, and a lot of people are planning on a revolt and a deactivation of their accounts on Facebook and Instagram on the 19th if the TikTok ban goes into effect. So he might be shooting himself in the foot here. And Zuckerberg has some other issues going on too. It was announced that Meta on their platforms are going to be creating AI content and serving that to their users, which I think that's bullshit. So you're going to have to contend with a bunch of content on there that's not being created by real people. It's being created by Meta, and then it's being served to you. Well, who owns the algorithm is Meta. So if they're creating the AI content, whose content do you think that they are going to push and make a priority? They are going to push their own AI content and make that the priority so that they can keep all of the funding from the ad revenue that's coming in from that bullshit, made up, non-human content. So Zuckerberg is really banking on this TikTok app being banned. It's pretty concerning as far as free speech goes. It's very concerning that they are trying to control the way that us as American citizens are able to connect with one another, share news stories with one another, and they are really trying to put a strain on that flow of information. They're basically setting up a dam, and then they're going to try to funnel the information that they want through places like Meta, Instagram, and X. It's going to be a crazy few days. It's going to be even crazier if they do decide to ban this app. Who knows if they're going to or not. I tend to think that they're going to, because at this point, with everything that's happened and all the blatant disregard for the American population, I don't see them changing course yet. But let's hope for the best. Let's hope that the Supreme Court will stand up for First Amendment rights, will stand up for the American population. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on TikTok, go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen, why you think this is happening, because in my opinion, this sure as hell is not happening for national security reasons. But this is Grim with Get the Rant, and I will see you in the next episode.